Welcome to the Strengthening Families and Communities Forum. I'm the co-host, Rich Urban, my wife Stacy. It's time now to welcome up Commissioner Jennifer Krouse. You already heard some of her comments, but she is one of our five county commissioners, and she took office earlier this year. So we're blessed to have her as a speaker. So I want to welcome her up now.
Thank you, everybody, for making me feel so welcome. I'm Jennifer Krouse. I'm a newly elected Jefferson County Commissioner. This is an issue that is very near and dear to my heart. The idea of stopping the sexualization of children in the public schools and providing a positive alternative. Boy, that's a lot. That's a lot. Let me introduce myself and let you all know who I am. I'm Jennifer. I told you this. I told you why I'm here. This is an issue that is very important to me. I am a mom. I'm just turned 49. Thank you for the happy birthday, by the way. I got that nice email. Thank you very much. So I just had a birthday. I'm 49. I have 5 children. My oldest is 28. She'll be 29 this year, December. And my youngest is 7. So I've got quite a range there. During COVID and the response to COVID and the forced masking of our children and this is when I started to get very fed up with the government controlling, forcing vaccinations on people when, if you want to keep your job, you better get the vaccination. We had no bodily autonomy anymore. I saw our schools pushing the agendas of critical race theory and sexualization. That was one gift COVID gave my family, and I'm sure many others, when children were forced to learn from home, or I use the term learn loosely. My daughter wasn't doing very much learning, and I don't think very many other children were either. I was present for all of these. I stay home with my children, or I did up until January 1st. Now my husband does a lot of what I would do when I'm at work. But they would sit in front of the computer. I would see all these little faces on the screen. Several of them were still in their beds. They were in their jammies. They had messy hair. They were, they weren't even out of bed and up and dressed and fed and ready for a good school day. They weren't learning. And when they were allowed to go back to school, the masks were covering their faces. And so the children couldn't hear what the teachers were saying, and they couldn't see their mouths. So a lot of the small children who were learning how to form their words and such were unable to do so because they could not see what their teacher was saying when they were talking. It was just a travesty. I started going to school board meetings where I met my friend Barb. I started going, and I realized after some time I was not being listened to. The school board were not paying any attention to the things that those of us who were very legitimately concerned, they didn't really care what was going on in our households with our children. Eventually, I decided I would try to make a difference where I could. I was asked and encouraged to run for county commission. I said, "What's county commission? What is this?" And I learned about it, and I prayed a lot, talked to my husband a lot. Certainly, this is a whole household decision. My children have had to give up time with me, and I've had to give up time with my children and my husband to take on this role, which is long. This is a 6-year term. That's a long time. But it was a commitment that I made with God's blessing. I prayed about this. And I said, "Really, Lord? Really?" But he made the way, and here I am. I hope I'm doing good. I'm doing my very best to do good. I am a conservative. I am a true conservative. So I come at things from a decidedly conservative perspective. I truly believe that getting back to the basic founding principles is the way we fix many of these problems. We were a country founded on Judeo-Christian values, and anybody who tells you otherwise is lying. They haven't done their homework. I've heard a lot of that. They didn't care about God and what he said and what the Bible said. Yes, they absolutely did. They absolutely did. To discuss about how children are sexualized at all levels of society. I mean, even before they get into school, unfortunately, right? So we've seen things. I never watched it, and I'm proud to say it, but I have seen the commercials for a show called Dance Moms. This is all about sexualizing little girls, and it's yucky. I can tell you, this happened, I guess it was about my husband and I do the grocery shop once a week. That's our day date. When the kids go to school, that's when we get to go out together, and we would do the grocery shopping. First we hit the Aldi, and then we hit the Walmart, and it's our whole thing. It's our big routine. Well, for a little while there, going through Walmart in the toiletry section, I call it shampoo and all of this, and makeup and everything. There was a whole display in the Walmart of Sesame Street makeup. It was disgusting. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay. Oh, it was there. And I was thoroughly disgusted. I complained about it, and oh boy, my husband, he would get so mad. Oh, would you stop saying things out loud? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to stop saying anything out loud. This is perverse. This is perverse. I mean, this was real makeup aimed at, and of course the display is from here down, right at eye level for little kids, little girls, and probably lots of little boys, right? These days, a lot of parents would encourage their little boy to put makeup on. That's disgusting, and the sexualization, as far as I'm concerned, even if it isn't just for girls. The clothing that we see at Target and Walmart, and it's all for little girls, it's all halter tops and show as much of the skin as you can, and it's really upsetting. The obscene performances. I did just work very hard to get passed in Jefferson County an ordinance that will bar, or has actually, this has already succeeded, thank God, in barring minors, anybody under 18, from adult live performances, no matter where they are, no matter what's going on. If there is obscene behavior, a minor is not to be present, and that's it. I did push to get that through very quickly, and I had lots of reasons for doing so, and I know that I was right on that. And my goal, my aim, is to have that spread throughout our state. I have been working with other counties. I worked very closely with our Attorney General, a wonderful man, Patrick Morrissey, giving me his time, guidance, lots of good advice about certain proper things to say in an ordinance and things not to say, so that it remains constitutional and therefore unable to be challenged in court. That's something very important to me. If any of you have been paying attention, you've seen these pride performances and pride parades. Well, we know what the Bible says about pride, right? We know. There before destruction and the haughty spirit before the fall. Yeah. So about that, we know what children are being exposed to and are being encouraged to see, and that's by design. These are people with an evil intent. It's despicable. But anyway, it did spread to Putnam County has adopted their ordinance. Thank God. I'm working with several other counties in the state in order for them to get the same kind of ordinance passed in their county. And as far as I'm concerned, if they won't do it at a state level, and this is why we need to vote for good people in our state, Miss Barb, if they don't have the nerve to do it at the state level, then I think in the counties, in the very local elections, we need to pay very close attention to who we elect, who we vote for. That's how we start to really make some change. I will talk, speaking still of obscenity and off of my ordinance now, speaking about obscenity and how easy, how insidious it is for our children to see at home. We cut the cable cord. We don't have cable in our house anymore, thank goodness, right? But the TVs now, and I'll tell you what, we don't watch TV really. We turn on the Andy Griffith show. That's about it. But you know, it's unfortunate what's been going on in our culture and how they're trying to get at our children. The televisions, you know, you get a Fire Stick if you want to watch the Hallmark Channel, which I don't watch anymore, by the way, because of the commercials and how I can't have my daughter in the room with some of these commercials that are present during these sweet Hallmark movies. Not anymore. Anyway, the Fire Sticks that you use are loaded with this content that you can't get away from. If the television is on, even if it's not showing a program, it's scrolling. And you can see a lot of things that you don't want your children to see. It's insidious. It's there, and they're trying every which way they can to get to our kids, and they're succeeding in many cases. It's very sad. So one of the reasons that the children are being allowed to be sexualized is because God has been taken out of our schools, of our society. People get made fun of for being a Christian. I won't speak for a Jewish person, but I would assume the same. I'm not Jewish, I don't know, but when you're in the minority that way, you're a target. Another reason is man wants to make his own morality. And I will quote from the Bible now, back in Genesis chapter 3, verse 5. Satan says to Eve, and this is not the full quote, "Ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." There's Satan right there telling man, you're going to be just like God. You can be. Do it. Judges chapter 21, verse 25 will quote, "In those days there was no king in Israel, and every man did that which was right in his own eyes." That's happening today. Scary. It's very scary. And in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 14, Satan wanted to be God. This is not the quote, I'm sorry. Satan wanted to be God, which is the same sin that Adam and Eve committed. It is the same sin that man is committing today, the same sin that Adam and Eve committed. Isaiah 14:14, "I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Those are Satan's words. That's Lucifer right there. That's the devil. The results of children being sexualized at all levels of society. The rises in depression among young people. This is from the Health and Human Services own website, our federal government, who we all really trust, right? Between the years 2016 and 2020. So our Health and Human Services website, federal government website, states between 2016 and 2020, I don't know how they get this number for ages 3 and up, but 3 to 17 have been diagnosed with anxiety. That number grew by 29% and depression by 27%. That's not even including the years 2020 to 2023, which of course is the whole COVID, which we know for a fact that had detrimental effects on our children. It's awful, just devastating. And I can tell from personal experience, and I certainly won't name names or anything that could be identifying, but we have had a couple of incidents that have affected our family with respect to teenage suicide. And this is during COVID, when children have been made to feel very alone, and you can't talk to other people, and you can't look at other people, and you can't wave hi to other people, and you can't smile at other people, you can't see other people. That was part of the whole plan, really. Here's what I have done to try to do my part. Unfortunately, when it comes to our schools, the county commission has little oversight. But I have done what I can by fighting the school board and encouraging others to do so. I've gone to meetings, many meetings. Oh, you have to make yourself known. You have to, even if they're not acting the way that they should be and listening and paying attention and making decisions based on things parents want, you have to go and make your voice heard. That's very important. I have spoken out against their bad curricula with respect to critical race theory, with respect to their COVID response, with respect to their sexualized agendas, including LGBTQ, and I can't even LMNOP, So, right? Question mark, ampersand, I don't know. So, one thing that I was able to do, and this doesn't have anything to do with the sexualization, but I was given the opportunity to help shed some sunlight. I do say sunlight is the best disinfectant. Right after I was elected, our school board, there was a whole fiasco where they made the bright decision to lower exam grade weights from, what was it? It was 10. They lowered it to 3. Yes. And then they made a whole great big stink. The faculty senates at both of our high schools had a very big problem with this. Came to the county commission and said, we need some help with this. So we did come out publicly. That was one of the very first things I did. We did come out publicly against them, wrote a letter discussing what a horrible decision this was. I hand delivered that letter to Charleston when I went down in January, made sure that the Board of Education in Charleston received that letter. Here it is, and also sent it certified mail and email. Belt, suspenders, another belt, made sure that was in their hands. Right. I didn't see that. No. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. So, anyway, there's not a lot that the county commission has with respect to oversight over the Board of Education, but when it does come to us, I'm paying attention, I promise. Another thing that I have done, I have brought prayer to our county commission meetings. That was one of the very first things that I did, very important thing to me. We need to bring God into the room. That's a very important place to start. I think that all of us here would agree. I'm sorry, my hair is bothering my eyes. We must recognize, as did the founding fathers, that we all need to call on God for guidance. And without his blessings, our works are in vain. They just are. The obscene performance ordinance, I discussed this a few moments ago. It essentially bars minors from adult live performances, which have been deemed obscene. We could have gone farther with our ordinance, but we did not. If you want to have a disgusting and obscene performance, have it. But no children are allowed to be there. Thank you very much. The hard thing about that, and why this is hard to spread across our state, is because people are afraid. They're afraid of being called names. And in case you didn't know, I'm a bigot and I'm hateful. I don't understand why people don't just all love each other. Well, I've read my Bible and I know what God says about your performances. The level of opposition that we received from this ordinance, the discussion even of it, shows how our society has fallen, how far we've fallen. I will say I was very disappointed in the 2 commissioners who voted against it. It's a 3-2, and that's one of the reasons I had to act so quickly. We had 2 county commissioners who voted against it, which I still can't understand why. Oh, also, in case you didn't know, I'm a Nazi. Of course, I'm joking, but I was told by another commissioner that that's what my behavior is like. So that was really very disappointing. So, protecting children, in case you didn't know, that's a very, yeah. Well. So it's important for people to get involved. It's important to go to meetings, go to our local county meetings. If you live where you can, go to state meetings in the state house. These are very important that people need to pay attention to. Another thing to do is to get involved by running for office. It's very important. I've heard the expression, be the change that you wish to see. Don't just stand around complaining about it. We have to do something. I would much rather stay home and do laundry and cook dinner for my family. I'm fine with that. I really am. And I still do the laundry, but my husband does a lot of the cooking. But I was the one. I said, okay, I have to do it. I have to do something. I can't just complain, and all of us must do something. If you can't run for office, write letters or go to meetings and hold the people to account that you vote for. Know who you're voting for and why. And when they don't do what they say they're going to do, hold their feet to the fire and vote in every single election. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make this whole thing a political thing. I'm really not. But from where I'm standing, all of this, now I know we can't do anything without God's help. I know we can't. But if we start and we pray and we ask, Lord, help me, help make a way for me, He does. He does. So we must force the schools to change. Public schools are a business. Theirs is a business that is offering a very poor product. The way to make a business change is to stop patronizing that business. For too long, we've been forced to consume this product. And I was one of those parents who paid no attention. Now, of course, I helped my children with their homework, and we talked about the things that they talked about at school, and I did all the things. But did I know who I was voting for to represent my children on the school board? No. I just assumed these are wonderful, good people who want to give their time to make sure my children are safe and cared for and taught well. They weren't. They weren't. So it's important to know this. For too long, we have been forced to consume the product that the public schools are selling, and that is starting to change. We need to stand together to force change on our schools through our actions. One way we can help is turn these school board elections into partisan elections. We have to know who we're voting for. Everybody likes to say, but this isn't a partisan position, but yes, it is. It absolutely is. Unfortunately, right? But it's true. I'm sorry. It's just a fact. We need to do that. Our children are being used as political pawns. The "We are coming for your children" chant that I think many of us in this room have heard at a recent Pride Parade. I mean, they're screaming it. Believe them. They're telling you what they're doing. This isn't a joke. They mean it. Sadly, Democrats have sided with people who want to sexually corrupt our children. I can't imagine why. And I will say this, there are many rhinos that have too. And when I say rhino, I'm talking about a Republican in name only. It's true. It is a true thing. Because people are afraid to be called what I've been called. People are afraid. They don't want to be called names. They want to be liked by everyone. And you know what? Jesus wasn't liked by everyone, was he? Neither am I. That's okay with me. I figure I'm in good company. Right?
Exactly.
So another thing, we need to have our school board elections at the general election. I mentioned this already. That gets a lot more people out. A lot more people are paying attention to who they're voting for. We have to starve those public schools of their money. We really do. They're not going to change until they see that, until they see the real effects of what their policies have wrought. We need to vote no on additional funding. We need to discuss how much of the property tax goes to the schools and how they have the excess levy rate, which needs to stop. So I have a little note here. I can't do Excel spreadsheets. My husband did this for me, but he printed it out and I'm good at talking about it. So, with respect to, in Jefferson County, I'll say for every $100,000 of assessed value on your home, $1,168 of that are the taxes. And of that, $902 goes to the schools. $902. Yes, sir. 77.24% of our property taxes go to the schools. I can't believe it. He's flabbergasted. Yep. And what are we getting for that? Confused? We should. I know, wouldn't that be great? Yep. It's true. Yep. Yep. So, no, I don't think people do know that. No, don't be sorry. It's a flooring statistic. Yes, and it is true. It is true. I can tell you that the school excess levy, which is what people vote for, we don't have to vote for this. Let's see, of that 1168, $459 goes to that levy. It's unbelievable. People need to pay attention to what they're voting for. That's money that our schools don't need. Right. That's right. No.
When I ran for Board of
Education,
I would say, do not vote for it. Oh, you need teachers.
Right.
But
you have to starve the beast. You do.
So we charge an excess levy. Levies are for flow, and bonds are for building. So they weren't paying teachers. And yet they would pay this. They
would bloat the county government office.
Yeah.
There's a lot there I don't want to, well, I guess I don't mind if I single out certain people, or certain positions. We have a diversity, equity, and inclusion position in the county, and I believe that person makes almost $80,000 a year, if I remember correctly from the newspaper article, which was fairly recent. We have a social emotional position in our county government office, and I'm trying to remember what he makes. And please forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm going from memory here, but I want to say it was upwards of $100,000 a year for social emotional.
In West Virginia.
Yes. The superintendent.
West Virginia, they're making BC salaries.
Yeah.
They make some salaries that are higher than those in New York.
Right.
So
what about paying the teachers? What about paying for performance? How about that? If your students test well, but then again, it's a whole nother thing. I'm getting off on a whole thing. I'm getting in the weeds. I'm trying to stay on the path. So there are a lot of weeds. You're right. Got to pick those weeds. You're right. They pop up. That's fine. That's fine. So one of the things that I find was benefited our family is the use of the Hope Scholarship. And I will say that this has blessed our family, and thank God for Patricia Rucker, our senator, who has championed this and worked so hard to get this passed. If you don't know what this is basically allowing you to use your tax money that you pay to follow your student, to follow your child. You can use that money for private school or homeschool. Yes, sir, exactly. Whatever you see best for your child, because the parents know best, not the government. Parents know best.
That's right.
So it's not a perfect program. They're still working on it. There is a requirement where students must attend public school for, I think, 45 days before they're eligible, which is, I think they're trying to get that written out, but at the moment it still exists. I spoke to Patricia about this last evening, and it is a hurdle, which is very unfortunate because it shouldn't be. That said, once your student is in school, in the public school for 45 days, you can then withdraw them and take your Hope Scholarship money and use it where you see fit for your child, best fit. So the important thing for us at this point is to push those politicians to support that Hope Scholarship. When I do want to say one more time, Patricia is the reason that this got passed. Patricia does need our support, and I'm not trying to campaign for her right here. Of course, if anybody wants to vote for Patricia, I think it would be super. I will be. She's facing a lot of challenges in the Senate, evil people who, because of her firm support in very conservative things like this, parental rights on certain things, she's losing a lot of her seats in the Senate, which is wrong. It's an evil thing. The important thing here, I think the most important thing is for us to pray and to return to God. And if we can get a revival in this country, God will see that and he will give his blessings. God blesses us. Thank you. He does bless us when we live a life that he can bless. He truly does. And I have seen it in my own life. It is true. That doesn't mean everything's perfect. It's not even close. It wasn't perfect for Jesus, and I don't expect it to be perfect and easy for me. But he blesses us. I want to show one thing, just one moment, if I may. I'll speak directly into this, but I have a dear friend who sent me an article from a newspaper. I don't know how to say it, Epoch Times or Epoch Times. Yeah. Thank you. And this is in relation to I say my ordinance, it's not mine, Jefferson County's new ordinance that I helped to get passed, regarding how drag shows can expose kids to sex offenders. And that is a very interesting article. I'll be happy to pass it around here today if anybody wants to look at that. Good, thank you. I'm glad to know how to pronounce it now. But it's important that we pay attention what we're letting our kids see. Stopping the sexualization of our children in schools is difficult when you're dealing with the public schools because it's so ingrained. There are people there, like I said about the long game. These people have been planning this for a very long time. The division of the family, the insertion of the government into the family to become the father in the household, women being encouraged to get on welfare and have more and more children. And the more children you have, the more money you get. The idea that if you get a job, you're going to lose your welfare benefits. It's an insidious thing. It's evil. It is broken. It's absolutely broken. You're absolutely right. And I'll say that again for people who can't hear, incentivizing bad behavior. And that's exactly what it is. Thank you. So I hope that I have said enough to maybe ruffle a feather or two and get people talking.
Yeah, and we'll open it. It's okay with you. We'll open it.
Yes. Question. Oh, certainly. Yes. If anybody has a question for me, I'm right here. Yeah. I'm ready. Does anybody have anything?
I had some thought.
Yes, sir.
One question. You can stay right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, one question is that this is Richard Urban. Everybody knows that already. So yeah, I've wondered about the Board of Education elections too. And first of all, I wondered why they changed it from partisan to nonpartisan. And second of all, I wondered, and I've been thinking a lot about it, why in the world, well, first of all, I agree with you, it should be moved back to November. Why are our primaries so early? I remember I ran once for DC Council back in 2010, and the primary was in September and the election was in November. It's like such a disconnect also. I mean, that's kind of maybe not the same issue, but I agree with you. It should be, but yeah, why was it changed to nonpartisan? And why is it the primary so early? Those are my two questions.
I'll tell you. Thank you. So I will tell you that what I can say about why did they change it to nonpartisan, I think I think I answered that question. When you don't know who you're voting for, that makes it a little easier for the people that you might not want to get elected to get elected. If you know where they stand on certain issues, that doesn't benefit the people who want to harm our children. I'm sorry. It is what it is. We need more conservative people on school boards. When I was door knocking, I will say, I talked to people, and I was all over this county, thousands of homes doors I knocked on. Many people don't know who they vote for. They only vote in the general election when it's like a presidential election. They don't pay attention to what's happening in their own front yard. They have no idea. And they'll say, I never vote in local elections. I only vote for president. And I'm saying, wow. Well, because I know that when I say things to Joe Biden, he doesn't listen to me, right? Does he listen to you? No, he doesn't. Right. He won't hear me. Well, anyway, whole nother topic of conversation. But when I talk to my county commission, if you're talking to me, I'm listening to you. I hear you. I'll call you back. I'll email you back if you email me on the right email address. Okay. Text, call, email. My phone number is out there. You can find me on Facebook, which I do not check very often. So if in case anybody's ever wondering, don't message me on Facebook if you want a quick response. Okay. That's fine. That's good. That's good. No, but always text. Never feel bad about that. But I don't have Joe Biden's phone number. I don't have that. So it's very important that we pay attention to what's happening locally. Richard, what was your other question? Why did that about the primary and the general?
I was also wondering why the primaries were so early. Like, did they just change it to May some time ago, or what? Why May? Why not like September?
I mean, there are even earlier, like they do early voting as if it's not early enough, right? And the early voting, which of course is rife with cheating, the possibilities and the likelihoods of cheating in early voting is just rampant. It's really, really dangerous. Another problem is you might vote for somebody that you like in early voting, and you've cast your vote. Now, some people vote more than once, but not most people. You're not supposed to. So you've already cast your vote. You can't change it if something comes up that you might want to. Oh, right. Exactly. I do believe that voting should be reserved for election day. I absolutely do, because we all have all the same information at that point. We all can make a decision at that point. And unless you know you're having surgery or something devastating happens or whatever, if you can prove that you can't vote on election day, military, out of the country. Yeah, there are exceptions. But should we have just everybody and their dog lining up around the block to go early voting when we don't even know who we're voting for at that point? We don't know who they are.
So partial answer to your question, Richard. I was told that they needed to have the primaries early to not interfere with the school session because the voting happens in the schools, which it doesn't have to happen in the schools. I don't know if that's where I'm from. It depended on the area. You could have elections in many municipal buildings. You did not have to have it in the schools. They have a lot of space, but I mean, the kids are out all summer. So why not have them late before they get back in school? I mean, I think there are options here, just nobody's having that conversation. And it needs to happen, I think. But I know that there are people in place that are trying to make the change that Jennifer mentioned, which is to switch to the general election and not the primary. I just don't know what that process is. I don't understand. My civics training was very poor. And I'm new to this area as of 5 years, so civics is a little different everywhere you go. So I have a lot to learn. I wish there was a civics course for adulting in Jefferson County.
I do state issue.
No,
I do know that is a state issue. And there are reasons why some people at our state levels in our state legislature don't want it changed. And you need to look very closely at why. Why don't you want that changed? And I'm sorry, I've heard the expression many times, but you have to follow that money. Who's in their pocket? I'm just saying, you have to. So a lot of the union teachers unions and things are they're against that because they don't want more people coming out and actually voicing their opinion, and shame on them. How dare you? Exactly. Of course you can. Sure.
So my question, that was my answer. My question is, I thought long and hard about going to, especially the Board of Ed meetings. I think my hesitation is I don't feel that other than other people seeing what you have to say, I don't think the board hears anything. There's no change. It just seems like it falls on deaf ears. It's a weird ceremony that they control. It's weird. I don't like it. I'm more interested, and that's not to say I wouldn't do it. I could be convinced to do it if we had enough people to go. I'm more interested in approaching it from the angle of trying to legislate, trying to make changes, trying to implement more ethics. And this is, maybe you could answer this, I don't know. Can the school board be audited by a party that is impartial?
Thank you.
Is that an angle though? To answer your question, yes. The state school board.
You got the advice.
Sorry, to answer your question, the answer is yes. The state school board can be audited and local school boards can be audited. But to your question, Richard, the reason the primaries are when they are is because they need to have their candidates in place because the yearly calendar, their budget goes from July to July. So most government organizations run October. The federal government is October to October, which is why we always have shutdowns in December. Jefferson County goes fiscally January to January, right? Yeah, so they have to have them in place at the primary in July. Now, that's one of the reasons that I want to go down to Charleston, is I want to change that. I want to change where and when the school board elections are going, a whole host of things I would like to do, but that is one of my key things. I wasn't able to get on the school board here, so I'm going to go big or go home and go down to, I want to go down to Charleston to make it so that our families don't have to suffer anymore. West Virginia is 49th in the state.
No.
Yes. And with the amount of money that goes to our schools, so almost $12,000 per child, our children should not be 49th. They should be, in the top 10. I know that there's a new statistic, and I don't mean to hijack you, but there's a new statistic that West Virginia is the highest number of high school graduates. So there is almost 100% graduation rate. They're like 92 to 95%. No, it actually is. And I can tell you why, because I've had this experience. My own daughter was failing most of senior year, and I asked for her to be retained, and they gave her the option to test out. So she tested out and she walked, even though she was 17 years old and I still have my parental rights. It was ignored. It was ignored, and she walked. I now have a 19-year-old who can't get a job, can't do math, and she'll never watch it, so it's okay. I can throw under the bus. She literally tells me she cannot brain sometimes. I mean, this is what I have. I know it's insane, and we need to change, and we cannot change unless the adults change first.
So this is why you say they have so-called close to 100%.
Because they push them
because
through.
push them.
It's no child left behind, that pushing them through.
Okay.
Let me just say one more thing. No, don't be sorry. No. So
This is Q&A. That's what we wanted.
to Barb's point about children and the sad statistics that we deal with here as parents of children in the public schools in West Virginia, I do have to say this Hope Scholarship and the school choice that we now have, we are leading the country. Now other states are looking to us saying, I wonder if we can get something like that here in their own states. And so we have Riley Moore to thank for that. We have Patrick Morrissey to thank for that. We have Patricia Rucker to thank for that. 3 good conservatives. And I have to say that if they did not have the nerve to stand up and fight for something good like this, which is unfortunately one of the only options to get kids out of the evil, the brokenness of the public schools where they are being sexualized. And not all teachers, and not all, I don't mean just a big blanket statement, but it is there. It's evil. And they've been planning this for a very, very long time. I have to keep going back to that. But because we have that option now, I see it getting a little better. It's a very good start. Yes. So thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for me? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that. So
I think you can unmute yourself, Lila. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the program that you were saying, because I have few families who are homeschooling their kids. My kids, I have 6 kids. I homeschool them all until 6th grade because I cannot do everything. But now they are in cyber school. But I know that I have few friends who are homeschooling and they can benefit from that scholarship that you're talking about. I'm not sure if it is available in my state. So that's something that, I could look into.
What state are you in?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Oh, not far from West Virginia. I will say I don't know about that, but I would get in touch with my local officials and start asking some questions. And if they say, I don't know what this Hope Scholarship is, then they haven't been paying attention. Sorry?
It's called Hope Scholarship?
Yep. Hope, HOPE, the Hope Scholarship. And
okay.
Yes, ma'am, I would bring that up. I can guarantee you they know what it is. It has made national news. It absolutely has. And if they don't know what it is, shame on them. And you can educate them about it and tell them, this is what I want done. This is what parents like me want done. And you can start organizing something in your area to try to push for that, if that's something that you don't already have. And I have to say, this does come back to, we all need to, and I hate to sound corny about it, but be that change. Force that change, because if you don't do it, everybody is sitting around saying, well, who's going to do it? Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? You have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like what you said about be that change, because a lot of times we're just looking at other people, and then we can start with what we can,
Yes.
And I think that's why I like the homeschooling part, because it's like that I can do, I do not have to depend on other, but I can do what I can do in my small area.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And even with micro schools, which I think were another good thing that came out of COVID, very much like homeschooling, I'm not sure if you know what those are, but I've heard them called pods and micro schools and things like that. And now my children go to our church school, which just opened up a school, thank heaven, for that this fall. And it's very small. There are 7 kids in their class. And when I say the class, I mean from kindergarten to 12th grade. It's like a one-room schoolhouse, and that's okay with me because I know that they're using the proper bathrooms, and there's none of this funny business about use whatever bathroom you like. No, boys go in the boys' room, girls go in the girls' room.
right.
There's no funny business, and I know what's being taught, and I'm okay with that. I'm pleased about that. But when parents let their kids get on the school bus and go to school in the government run schools, you don't know what they're getting. You don't know what they're getting. And that was another problem I have with when COVID hit. And even before that, there wasn't so much encouraging of the parents to come into the schools at that point. They don't want you to hear what they're teaching. And that was, I used to go in when my older children were small. Parents were encouraged to come into school, be guest reader. I used to bring my little one and go and read to my daughter's first grade class a book that she picked from home that I would bring in that day and sit with her in her class and do this. I don't think that they're encouraging that kind of parental involvement anymore. The room mom, is that even a thing anymore? Does anybody know? I mean, they don't encourage that, and there's a reason they don't encourage that. So put your kid on the bus, send them into school. We got it from here. I've heard it said, these aren't your children. These are our children. I heard Joe Biden say it. Shame on him. These are my children, are not his children. Oh, thank God for that. So, we have to take charge. We have to be the change. We have to be the ones to pay attention to what they're consuming. And if you want to read about our Hope Scholarship, you'll see that the money that you spend on whatever homeschooling product you use or expenses you incur, you can use that. These are your tax dollars. You can use your money. What a novel idea to teach your children. And I have a great amount of respect for that. For what you're doing is what I mean to say. Yes. So thank you for what you're doing. But I would get on the phone. What's today? Saturday? Monday.
Saturday, yeah.
Monday, I'd get on the phone and I'd start calling my state legislators and say, what's this? What are we doing like this here? Can we get this here? What do we have to do? Tell me. I'll start it and get the ball rolling. That we have
That's a good idea.
We have to. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Great.
Okay, thank you, Lon. You have a question?
No,
No, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Wow. Thanks for your presentation and the questions. Thanks for the work you're doing here in our county commission.